Hello Form 7 students. Today we will study Unit 1, Lesson 6 and 7 in Algebra. Lesson 6, Multiplication of Rational Numbers, and Lesson 7, Properties of Multiplication Operation. Remember that when we multiply positive number by positive number, the result will be positive. And when we multiply negative number by negative number, the result will be positive. And when we multiply positive number by negative number, the result will be negative. Example 1. Find the result of number 1, 4 over 5 multiply 3 over 8. That's equal. 4 multiply 3 equal 12 and 5 multiply 8 equal 40, which is equal in the simplest form 3 over 10. Number 2. Negative 7 over 3 multiply 6 over 5, which equals negative 7 multiply 6 equal negative 42, and 5 multiply 3 equal 15, which equal in the simplest form negative 14 over 5. Number 3. 4 over 5 multiply 25%. The first number will be as it is, 4 over 5. Multiply 25% can be written as 25 over 100. So the result equal 4 multiply 25, the result will be 100, and multiply 5 by 100, the result will be 500. So the result will be in the simplest form 1 over 5. Number 4. 2 over 5 multiply mixed number 1 and 1 over 3. First, we need to convert the mixed number 1 and 1 over 3 into a fraction. By multiplying 3 by 1, the result will be 3. Then add 3 plus 1 equal 4. So the number will be 4 over 3. So 2 over 5 will be as it is. Multiply the mixed number will be 4 over 3. Then multiply 2 by 4, the result will be 8, and multiply 5 by 3, the result will be 15. So the final answer is 8 over 15. Properties of multiplication operation. Number 1, closure property. If A over B and C over D belong to Q, then A over B multiply C over D equal AC over BD belong to Q. Example, 2 over 3 is a rational number belong to Q. Multiplied by 4 over 5, a rational number also belong to Q. The result will be 8 over 15 is belong to Q, which means that the product of any two rational numbers is rational. Number 2, commutative property. If A over B and C over D belong to Q, then A over B multiply C over D equal C over D multiply A over B. Example, 3 over 4 multiply 2 over 3 equal 2 over 3 multiply 3 over 4, which means that if we change a number, the result doesn't change, and it is the commutative property. Number 3, associative property. If A over B and C over D and E over F belong to Q, then A over B multiply C over D multiply E over F equal A over B multiply open bracket C over D multiply E over F. Example, 2 over 5 multiply 1 over 6 multiply 2 over 3 equal open bracket 2 over 5 multiply 1 over 6 multiply 2 over 3, which means that we can multiply the first two numbers and the result multiplied by the third number. Number 4, the multiplicative identity or neutral element. If A over B belong to Q, then A over B multiply 1 equal A over B. So the multiplicative identity element in Q is 1. Example, 4 over 7 multiply 1 equal 4 over 7. Number 5. The multiplicative inverse property. For each rational number A over B, there exists multiplicative inverse B over A, such that A over B multiply B over A equal 1. Example, write the multiplicative inverse of the following. Number 1, 2 over 5. To find the multiplicative inverse of this number, all we need to do is to change the numerator with denominator. So the multiplicative inverse will be 5 over 2. Number 2, negative 5 over 8. The multiplicative inverse will be 8 over negative 5, which can be written as negative 8 over 5. Important notes. Number 1, 0 has no multiplicative inverse because the number 0 can be written as 0 over 1. So the multiplicative inverse will be 1 over 0. And when we write it on the calculator, we get math error. So 0 has no multiplicative inverse. Number 2. The multiplicative inverse of 1 is itself, because the number 1 can be written as 1 over 1. So the multiplicative inverse will be also 1 over 1, which equals 1. Number 2. The multiplicative inverse of negative 1 is itself, as negative 1 can be written as negative 1 over 1, and the multiplicative inverse will be 1 over negative 1, which equal negative 1 also. Property number 6, distribution property. If A over B and C over D and E over F belong to Q, then A over B multiply open bracket C over D plus E over F equal A over B multiply C over D plus A over B multiply E over F. Number 2. A over B multiply open bracket C over D minus E over F equal A over B multiply C over D minus A over B multiply E over F. Example. Use the distribution property to find the result of number 1, 7 over 8 times 3 over 2 plus 7 over 8 multiply 2 and a half. As we notice that 7 over 8 is a common factor. So we will write 7 over 8 multiply open bracket 3 over 2 plus 2 and a half. Then calculate the bracket which equal 4, then multiply 7 over 8 times 4. The final result will be 7 over 2. Number 2. 5 times 3 over 4 plus 3 times 3 over 4 minus 16 multiply 3 over 4. As we notice that 3 over 4 is a common number, so we will write 3 over 4 times open bracket 5 plus 3 minus 16 close bracket. Then 3 over 4 will be multiply the bracket which equal negative 8. So the final result will be negative 6. At the end of our lesson. Thanks for watching and see you in another lesson.